listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast, your source for all the latest post-apocalyptic news.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Derek. I'm joined by Sean.
What's up? I threw you off there, didn't I?
All right. It's the new catchphrase for Sean. What's up? And Stephanie.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, nothing as creative.
No, what's up?
Yeah, I want a real catchphrase from you next time. And we have a good show for you today. By the way, we are a news podcast. If you want to know what's up with the news in post-apocalyptic world, the whole genre, we're covering it. That's games, movies, TV shows, events, music. Not music. We're not really. I have actually had post-apocalyptic bands contact me, and I'm like, not really.
I've had some ideas for music posts.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it could be an interesting topic.
Could be.
Yeah.
Also books.
Oh, also
Yes,
books. Can't forget about books. They're going to outlast us all. And
True.
so we're covering the whole gambit of post-apocalyptic news here on the podcast, and also throwing in our own opinions because we're human beings and we have those. So let's just get right into it. Sean, you have some news about the director of Saw?
Yeah. James Wan, who is the guy who did the original, he was one of the co-creators and co-director, producers or something, of the original Saw movie from, was that 2002, something like that? He's also the guy who created that creepy puppet, that rides the little tricycle. Have you guys seen the movie?
Yes, I've seen the movie, and in fact, Call of Duty just released a skin that looks like a grown adult version of that puppet.
Oh, that's creepy.
So if you're playing Warzone, you're just gonna look around and some guy looks like that puppet is shooting you with an AR.
Oh wow, no thanks. So James Wan, he created that. He went on to do The Conjuring, which is actually another puppet movie, kind of. So he loves puppets. Actually, his Instagram is creepy puppet. So he loves that whole thing. Anyway, so it's been announced that he's going to work on a post-apocalyptic movie, and it's going to be a horror movie. So,
Wow.
I don't know if there's not really anything more than that out there, about this. We don't know if it's going to be set in the Saw universe or the Conjuring universe. I would think not, but who knows? It might have puppets. The world was taken over by creepy puppets. I don't know.
Wow.
That'd
Okay.
be crazy.
Yeah,
All
that'd
right.
be crazy.
So we don't know the topic of the movie. We just know that a famous guy who's made good movies
super
before
famous. Yeah.
is making a post-apocalyptic movie. That's great, and it's going to be a horror movie. Now, I'm trying to think of what a good post-apocalyptic horror movie is like, and I think my mind naturally goes straight to zombies.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say about Resident Evil 1 being a horror movie?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, and the game especially, I think that counts, Now, are you saying you think maybe James Wan is going to work on that?
Oh, no, I hadn't made that connect. I was just
okay.
I was just trying to ask myself, do I want to watch a post-apocalyptic horror movie right now? And I was like, well, I do love Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, I could see that. There's so many different avenues where, zombies, of course, like you said, it's the go-to for horror and post-apocalyptic, kind of that mix. I mean, there's also stuff where maybe there's a viral outbreak and people just get mutated. Maybe there's some kind of mutation thing. And I mean, I can think of a lot of the kind of trope horror that I watched when I was a kid, I probably shouldn't have as a young kid, is stuff that was like Friday the 13th and, Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that, where it was one crazy guy that was, killing people. And so I don't see how they could make something like that into post-apocalyptic unless he killed everyone. unless he killed every single person on Earth.
The cause of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
but
maybe
one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I mean. Like back then, it was kind of one avenue of horror, and now there are so many different ways that people make horror movies. So your guess is as good as mine.
All right. Well, so we've got a new movie on the horizon, and speaking of new movies, we've got a new Mad Max movie in the production, right?
Yes. I'm very excited about this one because it's going to be like the Furiosa origin story. It's going to be a young Furiosa, and it's going to have Anya Taylor-Joy, who is actually, when she was announced for the part, she'd only been in a couple things, and she's supposed to play a young Furiosa, like an early 20s Furiosa. So we get to see kind of that, where she comes from, her backstory, because in Fury Road, we saw that she was part of the Citadel. She was part of the whole, Morton Joe's place, and then she kind of broke away and she rebelled and she took the tanker truck and they went away.
Yeah.
So why is she like that? Like, why is she? I mean, I guess we know she's fed up with the way he treats women and the way he treats, like they say, we are not objects, and so she's tired of that. But I'm sure there's more to it before that, So I'd be excited to see that prequel, and with Anya Taylor-Joy being cast, I wrote a post about this. She is currently starring in The Queen's Gambit, which is on Netflix. It's been the number one show on Netflix for like 2 months. It just came out 2 months ago, and
Holy
as soon as it came out, it's been like the number one show. So I had no real interest to watch it because I heard it was about playing chess. And I'm like, well, I don't play chess, so why would I watch this? But then I started doing research for this. Since she's going to play Furiosa, I figured it would be cool to make that connection, figure out how, why this show is popular, The Queen's Gambit. And maybe that popularity can carry over to, the anticipation for the new Mad Max movie. So I started watching it. I'm about 5 episodes in. It is an incredible show. I see why it's number one. It's really, really good. I'm a sucker for 50s and 60s culture, and that's what it is. It's like set in the early 60s. It's kind of like a mix between Mad Men and, I don't know, kind of like Forrest Gump, but not like a silly side of Forrest Gump, but like and it's a really, really good show. It's really well done. I don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but if anyone out there has not watched it yet, it's not post-apocalyptic at all, but it's a good show.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I've had it recommended to me several times, but I don't know. It is a hard pitch, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into too much, and it's not for everyone. I think it's just it's a good drama. She's a chess player. She's a prodigy. She's brilliant, and she gets orphaned early, and she goes through an orphanage, and she works on her chess, and she has a really crazy mind. I mean, I guess like the movie A Beautiful Mind, and also like Good Will Hunting, kind of those kind of movies. And she can visualize the chessboard and which moves, and she can visualize an entire game before she plays it. And then she gets up to where she's the national champion. She's the state champion, then the national champion. And I'm to the point now where she's going to go to Russia and play against the Russians. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not selling it very well, I feel like, but it's really good. And
is it fiction or?
Yeah, it's fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fiction. It's not based on anyone in particular, but it's a really good. And they play 60s music throughout it, which I am a sucker for. I love that stuff.
That's how I feel about shows based in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
I like any show that will transport me accurately to a place and time that I haven't been.
Yeah.
Even the 80s, Derek?
I've been to the 80s. That's when I was born.
But I mean, transported there again.
I guess for the record, I'm not an 80s music fan. I don't think that was, I feel like we had good music in the 70s and then great music in the 90s and just something, there's good songs from the 80s.
I love all 80s music.
Yeah, she does.
High five.
Yeah. Woo.
Well,
On that note.
let's see. Let's move on. And yeah, wait. By the way, I just want to recap that. She is lead in an extremely popular Netflix series.
Yeah.
Going to be the lead in the new Mad Max movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I made that connection, for this post. Is it's going to be huge. It's almost like she's building up the stock for this company that is the next Mad Max movie. It's just, I don't know. Like everything she's been in too has been super popular lately, and especially I think it's because of this. People are all of a sudden going back and watching things she's done before, little B movie stuff and shorts and things like that, and they're like, wow. Like, I'm a big fan of hers, and that can only carry over in a good way, I think, for the next Mad Max.
Yeah. And by the way, just a tidbit, if you're interested in post-apocalyptic stuff, and I imagine you are if you're listening to a post-apocalyptic podcast, not this new Mad Max movie, but the one immediately before it, Mad Max Fury Road, it is worth looking into. I don't think we've written an article about it, but I've read a few articles about the road to making that movie. And it is such a fascinating tale because that's a movie that they were trying to make for a decade or more, maybe more than a decade. It was a long time. And it was just basically, one guy who was just determined to make it happen.
Wow.
And, a lot of times something like that happens and the movie's not great. But Fury Road is considered, maybe the best in the whole series of a series that, is full of great ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm old school on that. I still love Road Warrior. But I can see... I like Fury Road for the fact that it brought so many new people into... the series, so you get so many people who have maybe never even seen the first one. They thought it started with Road Warrior or Beyond Thunderdome or something, but yeah, it was about 20 years, at least 20, maybe 25 years since Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah,
so
I like that it made having a blood boy socially acceptable. Because I just feel like we should be accepting of all sorts of new ideas, and transplanting young blood into our old veins might just be a way to feel better.
You have something to tell us? Do you need to search your basement? What's going on?
Look, all I'm saying is that don't judge me if I do, and don't be surprised when I'm more energetic and younger looking than the last time I did this podcast. Moving on, let's see. We've got a Quiet Place spinoff that's coming up. That's been announced, right?
Yeah, it's been announced. It's now okay. They had one with John Krasinski. He basically directed and produced and starred in it, and his wife Emily Blunt. And then there two has been announced, and it was actually supposed to come out already, but because of the pandemic, and they wanted it to be in theaters, but of course, who knows when theaters are opening? So
right.
I think they're actually finally going to bring it out in spring of next year, like April.
Oh wow!
So
I thought it was out a long time ago.
No, that'll be 2, and then 3. Well, it's not. They haven't said if it's like part 3, but they say it's a spin-off in the same universe, the same.
Oh,
okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, with the monsters with the super sensitive hearing, and everyone has to be quiet. So it might be going the way of like Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, where you have the same time period, but like a different group of people. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen A Quiet Place, it doesn't spoil anything to tell you. The plot is that the world is basically been overrun by aliens that are stronger than us, and track humans by sound only. So go ahead.
They're basically blind. I don't know. I forgot what the reasoning is, but they basically can't see, so they listen, and everyone has to be super quiet.
So that's the plot, and and in a quiet place you have problems like, what do you do if you have a baby and babies don't know to be super quiet for the alien? Pretty good movie. And I will be watching the second one, just based on how good the first one was, and we'll be watching the series, but the series probably a little ways off, right?
Yeah it'll be a while.
22.
They said probably 20. Yeah, probably 22.
All right. More news. The Halo TV series, which is coming up on Showtime, they have been shooting during the pandemic. We don't know if they're going to hit. They had said before that maybe early 2021 is when they were going to start showing it. Who knows if that's still the case? IGN can't even get them to go on record as to whether or not they're still on track for that number. But what we do know is that they have made a little bit of a shuffle in the casting, and the original voice of Cortana from Halo 1 on through, also the voice of a Microsoft-powered personal assistant, that Cortana on board for the show. She's doing Cortana in the series.
Nice.
And
that's great.
To add to that, the president of Showtime said that the series will be faithful to canon. I'll say I am very happy about that. I haven't played through every campaign, but what I have done, and what I suggest everybody do, really, if you like Halo and you like the story of what Halo is, you can go on YouTube and just watch the cutscenes from the games, and it will give you the full story of what's going on. And it's actually it's really entertaining. It's like watching a little movie. And not only that, but there are Halo novels. And I don't normally go for something that's like feels like it was just made to take advantage of the popularity of something else.
Yeah.
So I didn't read them until a friend of mine who had suggested really good books in the past basically insisted that I must read it. He knew I was a Halo fan already. So read, I think, 4 of the Halo novels. I think there's more than what I've read. Maybe there's like 6. But the ones I read, great really? Novels. Yes. Very good sci-fi. Good sci-fi to me is something that makes me think about what's possible in the future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's good on that front. And on the post-apocalyptic front, the struggle of humanity to survive against what is, if you're not familiar with the Halo tale, it's a alliance of aliens who are very religious aliens. All sorts of different alien species who have basically decided that humanity has to go. And so they've done it to a lot of species, you assume, in the past, and just like go through the universe, like wiping out inconvenient species or assimilating them into their alliance. And anyways, humanity stands up for itself, says no way, and so the rest of the Halo tale is humanity trying to survive against these insurmountable odds. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about is we have our writer Val, 8-Bit Val, also known as 8-Bit Val, wrote about how to survive with type 1 diabetes in the apocalypse.
Yeah, that was a really good article.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really lays out what it takes to keep a type 1 diabetic alive and why it's pretty impractical once you run out of that insulin to go on, continue living. It's pretty dark. It's kind of like, it makes you feel like that one Twilight Zone where the guy like loses his glasses and the apocalypse, and there's just nothing he can do. It would be really tough. I guess if you are a type 1 diabetic, check out that article, know what you can do, because you can do some things. You can stockpile insulin for starters, and you really ought to. At this point, if you can afford it, stockpile some insulin, get a good supply going, and keep it well preserved, because you might need it. Who knows?
Yeah, it would also help to have a refrigerator with a solar panel attached.
Yeah. I mean, because even stockpiling won't last forever, and getting a cooler, like we were talking about this before. I have a cooler it's basically a plug-in cooler. It's a 12 volt. So if you have it hooked into solar, that thing will run forever, unless it's cloudy. and I mean, if you have enough batteries and everything, you can set it up. But that's a good way to keep that stuff cool and keep insulin cool. But still, once you go through that supply, then what? And I think that's kind of the point of her thing is, nobody really talks about it too much. I think Walking Dead had one episode where they like Daryl found some. Is that right? But
yeah,
other than that, nobody really wants to address that. And I think that was a good point of her article, because it's just one of those things where it's like, we hate to tell you, but you're probably not going to make it very long if you don't have insulin, and that's the sad truth of it.
Yeah. So now I'm making a list of all of my friends with type 1 diabetes, so that about a year after the fall of civilization, I can go maybe pay them a visit. See if they left me. No, I'll pay them a visit beforehand.
I'm like, I'm watching Stephanie's face as you're saying this.
Wow.
They might have left something for their friend Derek, or but no, I would want to say goodbye first. So, that's dark.
There's also the just to mention the first season of Colony, the one with Josh Holloway. Also, it's not the same because it's an alien invasion. But and the aliens are kind of in control, so they still have technology. It's not like struggling to survive without electricity. But they address it. They address the idea of type 1 diabetes there too. So
yeah, so check that out. Hey, by the way, we at Post-Apocalyptic Media have conquered new territory. We are expanding on the internet and acquiring space. So maybe you don't like typing out postapocalypticmedia.com. Maybe halfway through, your fingers start to cramp up. You're fatigued. You can't go the whole way. If you just type postapocalyptic.com and press enter on your keyboard, you're there. You're going to see us, post-apocalyptic. Hey, maybe you're a grammar snob and you want to put that little dash in there, post-apocalyptic. Boom. We got you covered. So just a little positive news for the site. We are continuing to fill up our calendar with great post-apocalyptic events and TV shows and when they're coming out. So if you were like, wondering when the next Fear the Walking Dead episode is, you might see it on our calendar. Or when a movie is coming out, or when a game is coming out. We're putting all of that into the calendar so that you have access to it. We provide that service free of charge. So check that out on the website. Also, if you like this podcast, like it, I guess. Can you like a podcast? Is that an option?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you can internally.
You can subscribe.
Look,
to it.
You can
Please
love
like
it
our
internally.
Yeah.
Subscribe for sure, and tell your friends, and leave a review. Let's see what else can I ask of our audience in this this segment where I ask them to do things.
Comment?
Cut your own hair. Hey, everybody.
Yes.
If there's ever a time to learn how to cut your own hair, now is the time. So, by the way, I've been doing this for about 4 years now. Maybe longer than 4 years. Yeah, I've been cutting my own hair. Hey, maybe that's not a good advertisement for cutting your own hair, but look at me. Look at that.
Pretty impressive.
If you're watching the video right now, you're seeing some cut hair. That's for sure.
And you cut my hair the last time I got my hair cut a couple months ago.
I
cut
did.
it, Not
did.
the bangs,
hacked
though.
at
I've
your hair.
Yeah, you hacked at my hair. We have video of it somewhere. And we also, and I try to cut my bangs. They don't turn out great, but they're not terrible either. They're just always too long because I'm scared. So, there you go.
Don't frighten the people. It's not hard. If you mess up, you're not going to lose your job. If you're going to lose your job because you cut your hair bad, maybe it's not for you. But
I would suggest if you're in a post-apocalyptic world, don't even bother with bangs. Just, if you're a girl, just let your hair, don't worry about it. Bangs are too complicated. But, in the pandemic apocalyptic world, give it a try. Why not?
I think Furiosa would beg to differ on whether bangs are important.
Maybe this is bad advice. Feel free to ignore me or leave a comment about how it's bad advice.
Half of Stephanie's advice is purposefully bad. To put you at a disadvantage if we're ever at odds.
Yes.
Stephanie, speaking of you, how's that for a transition?
Hey,
the
that was
Walking
impressive. Fear the Walking Dead. By the way, before I start talking about my segment, I would like to give a shout out to my friend Liz Wilfong, who made this hat for me. Yes, she loved our podcast. She has loved it. She liked the hats I was wearing, and so she made me a hat especially for this podcast with camo.
So
She actually made me two, but I can only wear one at a time.
when you say made, you mean she went to a website and selected the colors and had them send
She
it to you?
crocheted this like by hand from scratch with like just starting with yarn. So impressive to me.
Yeah, I'll believe it when she proves it. Send us a video, Liz, if it's true, if you're not lying to us.
Does Cafe Press do that now? Is that what that is? Etsy?
Oh, she just tore the Cafe Press tag off of that thing and sent it back
Gosh.
through the mail.
Well, I'm very impressed. Thank you, Liz. And on to the topic, Fear the Walking Dead. I'm working on 2 articles right now. I'm just about to publish them. They're pretty much all written. But we've talked about Fear the Walking Dead here before. It's been a really great season so far.
It has.
I just want to warn y'all that if you care about spoilers, we're going to have a major spoiler that happened in season 3. So just, if that bothered you, you can skip over the part, my part, feel free. But, and then just like a little minor thing about season 6 right now. But, okay. With that said, so Madison died in season 3. They changed showrunners, and there's a lot of people who have theories that Madison might be coming back. Now, fans have been wanting this for a while, and when she died, we didn't actually see her die. We saw her basically lock herself in with a bunch of zombies in order to help her children be able to escape a situation. Now, back then when I watched that episode, I was like, well, they could have just driven away. She didn't really have to do that. But, and then that still bugs me. But we never saw her die on screen, which, as you know, in any TV universe means that she could theoretically still be alive. The showrunner said in interviews at the time that she was dead. But fans are guessing. They thought this last season and it didn't pan out. But they're guessing again that she might be coming back this season. What makes this interesting to me is just when I did some research into it, and I found out she was killed off the show when the original showrunner also left the show, Erickson. I want to make sure I get his first name correct, so I'm just checking my story right now. Dave Erickson. Dave Erickson left the show as the showrunner, and he had big plans for Madison and big plans for the series. And then Andrew, as y'all know, if you've listened to this, I butcher people's names, so just be prepared. Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg took over the series from season 4 on. They had different plans, and they Actually, I'm sorry. Dave Erickson was season 1 and season 2. The other guys took over in season 3, which was when they killed Madison off. So
Yeah.
that's
there
what
will be
happened.
a test at the end, by the way.
There will be a test because these details are very important. Anyway, Dave Erickson had this really cool plan about Madison. If you were watching in the first 2 seasons and didn't like Madison, there was a reason for that. He had a very long arc in mind that was going to go over 7 seasons where she was going to turn evil and basically become Negan-like. She was going to be just this real kind of overlord, descend into darkness type of thing over a number of seasons. And her son, Nick, was going to be the one who couldn't go with what she was doing because they were already creating this gap between them in seasons 1 and 2. And so the idea is that there was probably going to be a big standoff between the two of them. And, who wins, I don't know. So that was the big plan. And I had a lot of problems with season 2, but also with season 3. So especially season 3. But anyway, it's so much better now, though.
Let's be fair to season 3. It was a good season, capped off by probably the worst Walking Dead episode ever made.
You'll have to remind me which one you're thinking of.
The one where Madison dies, right? Is the end of season 3?
The mid-season 3 finale.
Okay, the mid-season 3 finale. Terrible. They went for something a little artsy, and so that can work out really well. In this case, it was so bad.
It really was.
It made me feel sad for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Because they were actually putting together a really good season up until that moment, and then a whole episode that just did not land in any way.
No.
But I will say this current season of Fear the Walking Dead, different than any season of Walking Dead I've seen yet. And it appeals to me personally. This is like, without giving anything away, this season of the Fear the Walking Dead is about an empire. And you're seeing all of these different pieces of a burgeoning society coming together. The leader isn't some Rick type that's, always deciding, is it right to kill somebody, before they turn after they've been bit kind of a person. This is like a hardcore leader who, just do whatever it takes and maybe has a little corruption on the side, which is providing a lot of, struggles for the show to work out with these very black and white. I guess white hat is the phrase. White hat characters who are not comfortable with moral ambiguity as much. And anyways, it's shaping up to be a very good season.
Really is.
So if you checked out of any of the Walking Dead series, maybe just pick up Fear at the beginning of this season. What season is this?
Yep. I believe this is season 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, check it out. You might find that you really dig it.
Yes, season 6. I just confirmed it.
Well.
And I think it's really good. I don't think we need Madison in this season. I think it's great without her. I don't know what you think, Derek. Or Sean, are you caught up on it?
No, I'm not caught up. I think though that's a Walking Dead staple though. They get these people you attach yourself to, and then they kill them off. And I don't want to name any names, but starts with a G and ends in an N, and and so you just kind of find yourself heartbroken, but then it makes you want to keep watching.
Yeah.
So I think they're maybe trying that with this one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. I personally don't really see her coming back, but that's just my guess.
But that's a rumor, right? That she might be coming back. It was a rumor
last season too, though, because fans just really want her back. So I don't know if there's, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's an interesting rumor to explore.
And the show lost Nick because Nick didn't want to be in the show anymore, correct?
I think so, but it's been a while, so I don't recall.
All right. I probably shouldn't be putting something like that out into podcast world without knowing. So,
I probably wrote about it back when it happened, but I've written quite a few stories since then.
I always find that so fascinating about screenwriting is that you can't just write, like you said, he wrote an arc for 7 seasons. You can't just do that because people will love or hate actors, you know, and the actors will get sick of it or whatever. And they just, you know, they'll kill this person off and then they'll get 400,000 letters that'll say, bring them back, and they'll bring them back. I mean, wasn't that with Walking Dead, wasn't there supposed to be, let's see, I think wasn't Daryl not supposed to make it that long?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I think he was supposed to be a short-term character, but everyone loved him, so here we are. Now they're going to do a spin-off with Daryl and Carol.
I don't get the Daryl love. I love the guy as an actor, of course, and as a person, but, you know, he's like devolved into this. He's devolved, then he re-evolved, and now he's a cool dude again, but like for 2 or 3 seasons, he was all grunts and...
Yeah.
Just a real boring. Anyways, we love you, Daryl. If you're listening right now, you're a great Daryl. Okay, well, here we'll go ahead and end on this last topic, which is kind of outside of the normal post-apocalyptic fare. This is true history. I have a fascination with Easter Island, which, if you're not familiar, Easter Island is this little island out in the middle of the ocean. No, not close to anything. It's like 1,400 miles to the nearest other thing, basically. And there are all over this island these enormous statues that just looks like a head. And you know, a lot of depictions just show the head, and then, you know, we found out, I guess, later, or maybe, you know, that we knew all along, but most of these heads actually have a full body. You know, you had to like dig around it and find this huge body that was there. And anyways, it's all over the island. Fascinating, very low population island. And I was on Disney Plus and just rooting around, and I found this documentary about Easter Island and began watching it, not thinking it was going to be applicable to post-apocalyptic at all. But what I found was a very interesting story of a people who had an apocalypse. You know, as you know, the planet Earth has never had like a full-on apocalypse. I guess the closest you could come to is when the Mongol horde, you know, led by Genghis Khan and Subutai, started just executing like half of humanity. But we've never had like a situation unfold where, quite like Easter Island, where I'll give you this broad overview. And if you want to get into the details, Disney Plus has the documentary. But basically what happened was they had a very vibrant, you know, nice resource rich culture there that was doing fine until, this is the theory. Now this isn't recorded history, but, you know, the scientists and the historians and people who dig through rocks and date things, they've come up with this analysis that basically they had this forest on the island, and that forest helps sustain all the people that live there. And of course they were sailing. They were some of the best sailors, you know, so they were going all over to they started out in Thailand, and made their way over there. It was basically halfway between that continent and South America. And then they made it to South America too. So they're sailing back and forth. Somehow a rat or some rats got onto the ships and made it all the way back to Easter Island. Oh, why is this a problem? Well, there's no natural predators of the rodents on Easter Island. There was really no large mammals there at all.
And like the birds that were there, they ate, right? They ate a lot of the birds.
Well, what happened was, you mean what, the Easter Island people?
Yeah, I was saying you said no natural predators, and I said I was thinking the closest they had were the birds, but they ate those, right?
I don't recall the documentary addressing that, but basically their theory is that these rats became extremely, you know, because they reproduce so quickly that they very quickly became a nuisance on the island, and that one of their food sources was the seeds that fell from all the trees. So within one generation, they went from having this huge forest to having almost no new trees growing. And the story kind of unfolds in this documentary to show a society that goes from having enough and being very peaceful. And of course, you'd have to have a pretty vibrant, peaceful society to create these enormous stone monuments like they did. But it devolves extremely quickly when people start realizing it's either starve or kill my neighbor. And it becomes a very warlike place to be. And, you know, they're theorizing that it happened so quickly and suddenly that nobody saw it coming. And so they couldn't even build the boats needed to like flee the island. So they're just stuck there without any of the natural resources that they were used to. Now, you know, they've theorized that cannibalism started to become an option because there's just no other food source other than fish, you know, and it just got worse and worse. So I can't vouch for the accuracy, not being an archaeologist myself, but it's a cool theory and very interesting to see kind of an ecological apocalypse unfold on that island.
Yeah, it's so sad. Wow.
That's kind of like what happened, you know, in the 30s here with the Dust Bowl during the Great Depression and all that.
The Dust Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, basically, and that, you know, that was all out in the Midwest and just overgrazing of crops and not rotating crops and, you know, stuff like that just destroyed the land, you know, the soil, and people died, you know, like crazy, but.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't locusts have a hand in the Dust Bowl as well?
Yeah, it was a lot of those things all coming together. Plus, you know, the Great Depression going on at that same time. But yeah, locusts, like this crazy swarm of locusts that just cleared everything out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Gosh, that is crazy. You know, like we talk about how, you know, 2020 has all these bad things rolled up into one, but talk about a time period with a lot of calamities rolled into one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the 30s. That's my grandmother was in Oklahoma at the time of the Dust Bowl. So, you know, she described how you'd take a rag and wet it with water and then wrap it around your face to breathe through, and it would help with the dust.
Yeah, they didn't have N95 masks back then, right?
Yeah. Gosh.
It's crazy.
Yeah, by the way, a little known fact about locusts. I'd say it's little known because I didn't know it for a long time. Locusts are just grasshoppers. Do you know that? Locusts are grasshoppers. They, the only difference, what they find is, the grasshopper's body is one way when it's a grasshopper, and it's a different way when it's a locust. They behave very differently, and the only difference, the way you can turn a grasshopper into a locust, by rubbing its leg. You have to rub its leg a lot, like every 15 minutes or something for 2 days or something like that. And its body will change and become like bigger, and its behavior. When it's a grasshopper, it's a very like a solitary kind of a bug. And then when it's a locust, it's like it joins in communities of locusts. It's very strange how they,
It's so crazy. And isn't it like that they're being close together, kind of, then their legs rub together more, and that kind of creates that transition?
Yeah, the theory is that this is like an evolutionary trigger. Like, if there's plenty of food everywhere, then act like a grasshopper and just, you know, live your life to the best. But when food becomes scarce because there's too many grasshoppers around, you turn into a locust and you start, you know, conquering, I guess. I don't really know the logic
or something.
What's that?
That's cool. They're like werewolves or something. They just turn into, that's crazy.
Such a good comparison. Yeah. Gosh.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, now you know. Grasshoppers are innocent until they're not, until they're locusts. and then they're a threat to humanity.
Crazy.
All right. Well, that will wrap it up for this week. We will be off for 1 week. We're taking next week off for Thanksgiving and the holidays. So I hope you all enjoy that. As always, this is Derek with Post-Apocalyptic Media, reminding you out there to stay safe and always be ready for the big one. Take it easy, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.